Hello and welcome to another edition of the Aussie Ideas Man. I'm going to show my face at the very start and then go back to not showing it for most of my comments. And this is another evaluation of a recent video. My comments today have nothing to do with the people making the video. I don't know them from a bar of soap. I have nothing personal against those people. I have issues with what they say only. And I have issues with anybody in general who sells snake oil so that they can get large discounts on their own personal purchases. Once again, I welcome any comments. For anybody who can show me that I'm saying the wrong things, by all means put them in the comments.
To Aptera. There was actually a couple of things that we filmed on site that we weren't allowed to show, but Chris has actually given us the okay to talk about it. So
I wonder what things they weren't allowed to show. I mean, this isn't military secrets or anything. It's just a new vehicle and they're supposed to be transparent and open. And what is it that they're not allowed to show? The body's being made in Italy and the motors are being made in Slovenia or somewhere. What have they got in the Carlsbad site that they're not allowed to show?
let's do that.
Absolutely. Our reaction to the Aptera. We show up in California on a windy day. Chris introduces us to the car. What do you think?
I was skeptical about the looks, if I'm being blunt. Thought it looked kind of weird in person. It actually looks pretty sweet. It kind of changed my mind, especially the white one.
Well, I could put it another way. To me, it looks like a clown car. But in any case, each to their own.
I thought it was much cooler than what I was expecting as well. It was much more of a vehicle, like something I'd really want, something I could use every day. I wasn't suspecting that. I was expecting it to be more of like a fun car, something you would use on the weekends or shoot around the beach.
Yeah, fun car. Like I said, clown car. But in any case, this is one weird-looking vehicle.
That's been a big question. What's the solar about and what did we see? So first, what I'd like to say is I think Aptera's got their solar game going really well.
I wouldn't call it going very well if they've ripped the production plant out of the Vista site and just stacked it up against the walls in the Carlsbad site. I don't even know if they're making any solar panels. And those plant items are just blocking up all the bays, so it looks like they don't intend to bring in any supplies.
We saw completed panels. We saw panels that were completed and also conforming to the body size and body type of the Aptera car. We also saw a super cool, super secret machine that allows them to place the solar panels in position and then put them in position so they can be sealed together and they come out correctly. It's kind of hard to explain, but because of the 3D dynamics of the car, the solar panels have to be placed in a specific way, so when they're compressed together, they look all aligned and they look good.
They saw the super secret machine, but they haven't said they saw it actually working. I think it was dormant.
They've got that all done. They also have a machine where they're putting this stuff into for testing to make sure they're working. And what I would also like to say, even from an investor point of view, from the information they're putting out there, I think last week they released a video on their solar calculator where you can go, it shows you a map.
Debunking the myths.
Exactly. And at this point, Aptera has to be careful of what they put out there. They can't promise things that aren't going to happen. And at this point, getting closer and closer to production, to keep promising the 40 miles, to have the solar calculator where you can go in and put your information in. I put our information in. We can get a substantial number of miles per day, even in our less than super sunny environment.
Nice. Do you remember that number?
No, I don't, but I will pull it up and throw it on the screen when we get that. It actually it would save me several $100s a year.
Well, this calculator, I enjoyed reading a comment where somebody picked up the fact that Chris, the media kid, he's a Tesla owner. And yet he was working out how much fuel he was going to save on that solar calculator. Pretty interesting. Chris originally lied about his first ride in the Aptera and then made a video about his first ride when he had clearly had rides previously. And it just seems that he's still stretching the truth nearly a year later.
In fuel. So it does claim that, and they have to be careful. They can't go out and make these claims. So I have to assume, and this is a pure assumption on my point, is that they've done the testing, they've put the panels through some kind of rigorous test environment, and they're coming back with figures saying this is what's going to happen.
This is something I've always said for a long time, that they don't prove a thing. Now, if this guy there says that he's confident they've done the testing and proven that the silly trike meets performance claims, then it would be in their best interest and the simplest thing to do to publish the results of those tests, to prove to the people that it has been tested and does all the things that they say it will do. I find what they say it will do are just so far over the top that they are unbelievable. It remains to be seen what happens to the CEOs if they fold and the prototypes don't get anywhere near what they were claiming. Does America prosecute for misleading information in advertising? Australia would.
I like the fact that they're doing it all themselves. It would have been very easy for them to kind of, task that out to somebody else or find somebody else to do that. They are constructing from nothing to a completed solar panel conformed to their vehicle in-house on their assembly line. So for those of you that were worried about the solar and are very...
They're not constructing from nothing. They're using Maxeon cells. Maxeon make the cells. This guy's lying already.
Very concerned about it. I think Aptera's solar game is on. And this is just our opinion. It's from what we saw. They've got the entire middle of the manufacturing area dedicated to the solar. They've got machines in place to conform the solar panels.
The entire middle of Carlsbad. The middle of Carlsbad for solar. That sort of puts a spanner in the works for what we've seen of Carlsbad being the plant that assembles the vehicles. The solar was supposed to be made at the Vista plant, and I don't even know whether this guy's telling the truth, that the plant is set up in the middle of Carlsbad. I think it's just pulled apart and thrown there.
To the body. They're testing them and they're producing them. So I think as far as the solar goes, and especially with the claims they're making lately, I give that a check. They're moving forward on that area and they're doing very well.
I think it needs to be checked. Somebody who lives near, all the Aptera disciples that live within a few miles of Carlsbad, they should go and see if the plant for solar is set up in the middle of Carlsbad and is making solar panels. Find out if this guy's lying. I can't say that he is, but I don't trust him.
So we also had a few different questions about the battery packs. Lee, what'd you see?
I saw some really great innovation, and again, a forward look towards profitability. They are building their own battery banks. We went over to the area where they have the small cells that they take and compact into larger units, and they also have an automated machine that puts together the battery packs. It interconnects each cell. And from what I saw was these battery packs are very easy to manage. So whether they're putting 1 in, 2 in, 4 in, 8 in, whatever, they're quick and easy to put in. So depending upon your option, whether you're getting the 400-mile or the 1,000-mile range, it's just a matter of adding some more of these battery packs. And they're ready to produce them. They've got the equipment there, and they've got the actual packs ready to go. And again, when I saw them actually taking the cells themselves, putting them in their packs, and then doing the interconnects themselves, I was really impressed. I also goes back to the solar. They're making claims that you're going to get so many miles on one of these battery packs. They've had to do the testing. Now, this is not something where they can come to market with something and be like, oh, we missed that. We were off by a couple hundred miles. That's not acceptable.
Yeah, that won't cut it.
That won't cut it. So you have to assume that what they're doing, they put the thought into it and the testing it. And again, I put a check mark there. They've got it together there. So it does, I think, look a lot more empty than what it actually is. The next big question that everyone wants to know is, when is Aptera going to start producing cars? And that is a big question. And I would say they just need the money and the parts. From what we saw on the ground, they had lines painted for the auto manufacturing, for the robots, and whatever kind of automated systems they have to move the cars through the facility. I saw on the back wall the tracks and all the mechanisms necessary to actually move the vehicles along.
I believe what tracks he's talking about along the back wall are the pieces of the production plant for the solar that have just been thrown there. If they've got line markings across the floor, do those line markings go under where the supposed plant for the solar is smack in the middle of the Carlsbad building?
But what we didn't see were tons of car shells or tons of tires or tons of motors. And that is what they're doing right now, in my opinion. They're using that grant that they received, the matching grant of $21 million or whatever it is, to start accumulating the parts, the technology, and everything needed to build these cars. In that facility, they can do 40 cars per day during one shift. So over 8 hours, they can do 40 cars. If they operated 2 shifts, or 16 hours, they can do 80 cars. And everyone says, well, this just simply is not enough. And I couldn't agree more. At 40 cars per day, they're only producing 800 a month. So even just to cover the pre-orders, it would take 50 full months to get there. So in my opinion, and this is just purely my opinion, I think what Aptera is doing in this first facility is learning the formula to produce Apteras.
Kind of testing the waters.
Yes. They need to learn how to actually assemble these. They've never done it before. They've done one-offs, but they've never had stacks and stacks of piles of equipment, stacks of parts, bodies coming in from Italy, motors coming in.
They still don't have stacks of supplies
From wherever they're coming in, and then taking all this stuff and assembling it with many, many, many employees. Mm-hmm. So there needs to be a formula that needs to be created. It's going to be tough getting it off the ground. But once they figure it out, once they figure out exactly what they need, exactly what works and what does not work, I think they're going to open a second facility. I personally believe we'll start seeing them produce cars this year. Not a whole lot, maybe 500, 1,000 cars.
They're talking about opening a second facility while at the same time they're putting their 2 facilities up for lease. That's crazy. 500 or 1,000 cars in 2023? Not a chance.
Startups are incredibly, incredibly difficult to get off the ground. A lot of great ideas, how many people could execute them? And again, this is why we love the Aptera team so much. They have the experience, they have the passion to pull this off, and we're believers.
And they have the $1,000 a time discount, and they're hoping for it. They're hoping to get enough to pay for their purchase.
We even saw robot arms that we couldn't show you.
Why on earth wouldn't you be able to show a robot arm? What would it do if it was made visible on YouTube? How on earth would it affect Aptera's chances of going into production? One robot arm. Aptera initially were making claims that they don't need too much in the way of robots, but now they need to hide what they have. It is too suspicious.
Just think about how difficult it is to set all of this stuff up and actually produce a car at the end. So I think really Aptera is a great startup investment. Is it risky? Absolutely. All startups, even big businesses, are risky.
No risk, no reward.
The problem with that is when it's high risk, it's most often no reward. The difference is no risk, you don't pay. High risk, you pay.